Tom.
Yeah, wow, I'm first tonight instead of last. This is great. So every year I try to do a Christmas ornaments, and this year it's these Acorn boxes. They're walnut, and some of the bases are big leaf maple, and the other, there's some that are cherry. And I ended up making about 18 of these. I think they're about 5 inches tall by almost 3 inches in diameter at the widest points. They vary a little bit. Some are smaller, some are bigger. And I had fun because it's all a compression fitting on the top, the friction fittings for the tops. And I really got pretty good. I didn't miss on too many of them. And they fit well and stay together. And I really kind of worked on my hollowing skills with these. After you do so many, you kind of get into a pattern. So that was my little thing this time around.
Wow, I'm impressed, Tom. I thought those were like an inch bigger round or something, looking at them in that bowl. And those are 2 3/4 to 3 inches, something like that. And
Yeah, they're almost 5 inches long
wow.
each. And yeah, if you go to the other picture, you can see see the insides are hollowed. I tried to get them as hollowed as much as I dared, but so it's some of them are as thin as an 1/8 inch on the walls, but some of them ended up being a little thicker. It just is a matter of how adventurous I was trying to be. Now, this particular design I pulled directly from AAW's Woodworking Fundamentals article. So they have a whole procedure on how to do this. And that was from August of this year.
Well, Tom, we might have to have you back for small projects next year.
Yeah.
It does take me a while to do them, but they were fun though. And
The
you get
proportions
into it.
are awesome.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, I had a little trouble in the top. I'm not set up to do embellishments. And in the article, they embellish the top with some textures. And that's something I just haven't, it's a skill I don't have. So I said, no, I'm just going to go with smooth tops on these. But they were fun.
Is the intent to
Those are
hang?
really cool, and I'm thinking I know grandkids that would love to see candy in them.
I made 18 of these, and they're all going to be given away. Or maybe I'll keep one.
Where did you get the hardware?
The little eyelet piece there, you can get at a craft store, but I ended up going online and you can buy them in bulk. And I think I bought these things. There were like 200 of them for, I don't know, $6 or $7. So I've got a whole mess of the little eyelets. They just screw in. I drill a tiny hole and just hand screw them in. I did find out if you drill the hole too small, yeah, they can break right off. They're a little brittle. So, but if you get the hole right, they just screw in, and it's really easy to do that part.
They're threaded?
Yeah, they're threaded.
Oh, wow, cool.
And how about the stands? Where did those come from?
The stand that I just went on to let me see. I either got that stand. No, I got that stand at Hobby Lobby, and I did have to ask somebody that worked there because I couldn't find anything. So but I bought that a year ago, so who knows what they have now. But you can probably get this kind of stuff online. I wanted a stand that was real minimalist. So this stand had some embellishments on it that I ended up cutting off the bits that made it a little more ornate than it is. I wanted real simple to highlight the item that I put on it.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah,
I wonder if you could speak to your methodology on making these, the base part, the acorn. I'm seeing that you could take stock and hollow it first and then hold it by that and turn the outside, or are you turning inside and then
so,
just turning the outside and kind of parting it off?
so I went right by that article, which did get into this, but basically I kind of rounded the stock, put a tendon on it and put it in my chuck. Then I did about 2/3 of the outside shaping, all but the end. I kept it in the chuck. And so I got it to the roughly the right outside diameter that I wanted. And I also got the top size the way I wanted it. And I made a little plywood jig to measure the top to get it to the diameter I was looking for. And then I went through and hollowed the inside and spent my time working on getting the walls as thin as I wanted. Once I got it pretty well done, I finished it inside, finished most of the outside, and then I reversed it in the chuck. And I just used the same, it's sized enough so it fits my 50 millimeter jaws. And I just grabbed it lightly on that thin portion and very delicately finished the bottom.
All right. Hey, Tom.
I see. Okay. Well, thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
All right. So we need to move on. We got several things, but it's nicely done, Tom. And the fact that you can do so many and they all look the same, that's great. So
They're sort of the same.
Yeah, close enough.
But you get into a rhythm after a while. So.
That's nicely done.
Thank you.
All right, Ray.
This is a piece that is black olive. It's 4.5 inches tall and 4 inches wide. I made this piece for a potpourri bowl for my daughter's school auction. So it's gone already, and it did $85 at the auction. So
Wow.
the wood is stunning. I should have taken the other side too. It was a donated piece. I went down to Florida, met some of the guys from the Fort Myers area that turned down there. And one of the guys has a warehouse where he keeps all the club members' wood for them if they want it. And he had a huge amount that he had collected himself. He keeps an 18-inch bandsaw in the back of his warehouse, and he just has all these wood guys come by and dump interesting wood that they find, and he cuts them into blanks for himself. And this was an oddball piece. It was probably.
Whoever's got the background noise, could you mute, please? I don't want to mute everybody, but
I accidentally muted Ray. I'm sorry about that, Ray. I
Okay.
was trying to hunt down the noise too.
Ray, you have to unmute yourself now.
Okay,
Squeaking.
I got it.
Yeah.
So this piece was about 5 inches thick, and it had a humongous split in the crack. And in this black olive, the pith is pretty round. It's probably a good 1.5 inches, and it was incredibly soft. So I got about 3 blanks that are big enough to do a potpourri bowl, and I've got maybe another 2 or 3 that are just going to be smaller boxes or something. But the wood was really interesting, very yellowy orange when it finally cuts. So it was pretty.
That's very nice. Nicely done. What finish is on it?
That is let's see, that was Yorkshire grit, then the high cellulose sanding sealer, and then after that was the microcrystalline wax.
Yeah, that's nice. Nicely done.
Thank you.
And then Ray, so this is the other one I put in for you. I know you had a couple other pieces, but so
Yeah, this was
and there was
something.
no description with this one. So
Oh, really? Okay. This is apple. And it's a new thing for me. I have never done any of the surface embellishments or any of that stuff. It started as a project that I wanted to do. My daughter is the principal at Immaculata High School in Durham. And every February they do Black History Month. And I've never really helped participate, for her displays and stuff. So after watching Dennis Fuge and his bottom up hollowing, and he was showing how he gets inspiration from, the internet, looking at vases and bottles and things from around different cultures. I did a search for African art and found something extremely similar to this. But it's listed as it's from Kenya. So the inspiration, I talked to Dennis Fuge about how to present this in the catalog. This also went in the auction. And I was concerned that I didn't want to do an appropriation, what they call a cultural appropriation or something. So after talking with Dennis, we kind of settled on inspired by the artwork of, I believe it was Southern Kenya. So the original is woven. And so I wanted to try to simulate some of that. And it was, again, like I said, it was a fairly fresh apple, bottom up hollowed, textured on the outside. That stopper does actually remove on the top. And then it's painted with black gesso and then hand rubbed with the silver, is it gilding?
Rub and buff or something, or
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the paste. Yeah. And it just came out really neat, I thought. And
no, that's a very, very unique piece. That really is, and knowing the history behind it, that's really, really kind of fun. How was it received?
this piece and the one that you didn't show, like I said, I made it technically for Black History Month, but my daughter lives down the street, and she came over and I said, here, I made these for you for Black History Month. She goes, oh, I want to put those in the auction. So they did, I think each of the two pieces, I put 3 in. So these two, the two that were, the other one is black and hand carved, as opposed to, this was textured before it was painted. And mostly with the knurling tool, but I messed with some other ones just to try to mimic the effect that was done by the hand weaving. And so they did, I think, about $75 a piece for each one of these pieces at the auction, and then the potpourri bowl did 85. So
Nice, very nice.
so now I have to go back and find something else to make for Black History Month. And I have found a couple of really beautiful pieces that are much more colorful, using some of the colors like you see in that and forgive me for not knowing the right terminology, but the hats that a lot of them wear with the multicolors, the yellows and oranges and blues, and the fabric that they make the hats out of. And I found a few vases that are sort of using that color combination, although they're much more modern art pieces. So after the holidays, because that's what I'm doing now, I actually have my other daughter is at Bishop McGinnis High School, and their auction's coming up. So I have 3 pieces that I do for them every year. And that's kind of what I'm working on now. And then it'll be holidays, and then somewhere in January, I guess I'll start on the pieces for Black History Month.
Well, resubmit the other piece, the other black one. I thought it was good, but again, we just want to try to limit this to 2 pieces, but it's worth showing that other one next month.
Again, this was my first shot at any kind of surface embellishment, and I got really taken by the process. I didn't think I was going to like doing it, but I actually did.
Oh, nicely done. All right, Carl, our newest member. You need to take yourself off mute, Carl. either hit the space bar or unmute yourself.
How's that?
That's good.
Okay, perfect.
So I want to say something about these. So we got two pieces here, but you just brief description of
Well-
what it is.
Well, I'm a green pea here. I'm very new at this, but this is my first segmented bowl that I ever made, so. I used, I think this Paduke ash. And I think that one is that IPE or walnut, I'm not sure, and then yellow heart. So I think it come
Very
out
nice.
really, you know, for a beginner, you know.
Let's
What'd you think of segmenting? You enjoy it?
Yeah, I do, actually. Yeah. I've made some sense and, you know, I mean, if you have a piece that's 1.5 inches wide and, you know, you can just mingle it in there. I've got some bowls that I got so many different kind of woods in it, I wouldn't be able to tell you what it was, you know?
I like your pattern here too.
let's nice.
Zigzag, yeah, yeah.
And
This is-
then
This is actually a bowl from a board, right?
Yes,
This is a ringmaster style.
yes.
Okay.
and then you also submitted another segmented piece.
That's walnut, I think it's cherry, zebra wood, and the bottom, that's purple heart, and the bottom one, I think it's that IPE. A
Okay.
friend of mine had a bunch of scraps and it's decking. And I said, what are you gonna do with it? He says, well, you can't burn it, so I was gonna throw it away. And I got about 40 pieces, 20 inches long by 4. And I've made several things out of it.
That's some
It's,
hard wood.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, keep your tools sharp.
All right. Well, I mean, you're off to it for based on what you've been telling me about the short time you've been turning and been without a lathe for a while. You're off to a
Yeah.
good start.
Very nice designs too. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nicely done. All right, John.
So these are pretty self-explanatory. They're little witch heads. It's there was an article in Woodturning Design like 17 years ago or so, and at the time I wanted to do some of the earrings. It was King Heeple was the author that submitted it. And at the time, my arm was in a sling. I'd broken it and had some surgery and wasn't at the lathe for a while. And I was going through some of those old magazines this summer and stumbled across it, and it reminded me. So I went on to Etsy and got some little sterling findings. And my mom's always been big into dressing up for Halloween. So I was trying to think of some things to do that weren't just, you know, just copying his exact ideas, his exact designs. So the little hats are walnut. I made some homemade iron acetate with some iron filings and some vinegar and blackened the walnut a little bit. The heads are maple. I thought about putting faces on them, but decided that this way they'd be able to just sit and stay regardless of what direction they were being viewed from. The only real lesson on these, my daughter wants a pair now, is to come up with some little guide to get the angle for the hats right, because the angles aren't quite identical on the top hats. I figure they're probably close enough if you're not looking at them at the same time on the, you know, somebody's got them on either side of the head.
Yeah, that's what
First,
I
I
found.
gotta say, they're really cool. And second, you've captured my mother-in-law perfectly. Good job.
Jeez. Come on, Michael.
No, they really are cool. I like these a lot.
Yeah, and you're right about. I used to when there was a time where I tried to make earrings and I made a bunch and I sweated over trying to make them look the same. And then I realized that people tell me, no, they're not next to the only time they'll ever be next to each other is right in this picture. So, I mean, they're never viewed that way. So, yeah, I stopped worrying about it.
I got the measuring tools out. I mean, they're sitting at different heights on my little make-do stand. They're pretty close in measurement. They don't, like I said, the taper is a little different. I bought a pin vise from Amazon to be able to do the drilling for the eye, and I had a tough time getting that to stay centered. It was just such a small bit. It just kept wanting to wander down the grain on the hats for the little screws for the eyelets.
So try get yourself a machinist center punch that has a spring in it. It's a spring-loaded center punch, and just use that to punch that just a little dimple in there before you try to use that little bit, and it'll work much better staying centered.
Or drill it on the lathe.
That's a good point. I just bring my tailstock up with the point cloud center there. Just stick it in there.
I just use an awl, put a dimple there, and that's enough to start a small hole.
These are nice though.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's fun. Very fun. All right, Norm.
This is a kit by help me, I can't remember who. One of the craft supply places. Purse hangers. I figured I'd give them a try. If I don't sell a couple, they'll make great Christmas gifts. But I got some redwood burl from somebody on Facebook a while ago, really thin pieces. The front one is the burl as is, no color added. The others are some dye experiments. They're curious little things. They have little magnets on the side, so the ring basically holds it as one form when it's not in use.
And it does a pivot. I mean, how does it? What? Oh, okay.
It opens and pivots the main joint. So you see the inset photo. That's how it hangs off the shelf.
Right.
It's got a rubber bottom, so it doesn't slide off the counter.
How's the burl held into the ring?
Epoxy, 5-minute epoxy.
Okay. That's fun.
I think it's real innovative. Yeah.
I don't think there's any problem selling them.
Yeah. All right.
The only other thing I've managed to turn in the last few weeks, Bradford Pear. I actually started this at Lazy Days, and it was flying off the lathe. It was such a big, honky piece of wood. It says 5. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's closer to 6 inches. But I put it back up, and I got it round, got it hollowed, which was the more interesting part for that lid fit. It had spalting on it, which is kind of interesting. But it also had some hairline cracks that I had to fill with CA. So the whole thing is finished with way too many coats of thin CA.
I like the way you have the pewter floating.
Yeah, I try to do that with those, especially the ones that don't have a ring built into the form itself. It looks better if it floats, I think. Some of them have a solid metal ring on the outside, then you can sit them.
And I think that concave top really adds a nice balance to that piece. I don't know, it really enhances it. And boy, that wood's, is that really the natural color? I don't remember. Is that dyed or is that just the natural
that's
color?
It. That's
Wow.
it. It's a hint more brown than that light is showing, but not much. It's got a nice red hue to it.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. No,
I like
nice.
the way that the shadows by the concave make it look like it's a gradient there or something.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. I really like the shape of that top. It's hard to believe you saved that after how many times it flew off the lathe at Lazy
Just
Days.
twice, but yeah, if no one wanted to give up.
That would have been in my firewood pile at that point. So.
But Norm, could you spend a few, like less than a minute or something like that, talking about how to do CA finish? I haven't done that yet.
So it's best to do, others may have their own opinions. I find it's best to do a couple of layers of thin CA and then go to the medium or thick. I didn't do that here. I had just thin handy. I didn't have enough thick around. And this is borderline too big for a CA finish. You do it on pens and small stuff, but this is close to 6 inches. The only reason I did it is that when you use CA, thin CA to seal cracks on a lot of woods, particularly Bradford Pear, it stains it. And you're not going to get that stain to go away. So the best thing to do is just cover the whole thing with it. So it's a matter of really, 200 RPM if you can do it. The trick I learned is to take, when you get your pen kits, they have those little plastic bags. Save those little tiny plastic bags, and you basically can put the CA on the piece, and with your finger in the bag, run your finger across the bottom of the piece as you put the glue on the top while it's rotating. Those little plastic bags will basically stay on the wood, give you a nice smooth finish, and you get about 3 to 4 seconds of movement before they would grab.
Wow.
And you do it again and again. And the thing I learned is the problem with that diameter is even at 200 RPM, several times I had to redo it because the centrifugal force, when I thought it was set up, I'd come back and it kind of gelled the line on the outer perimeter, even at the low RPM of 1 or 200. So knocked it back a few times and put it on again. So there were way too many layers on there.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Sounds like a challenge.
All right. Michael, those of you who don't know Michael, he will be our December demonstrator.
Big old basket illusion piece. I was trying to go for fish scales with the pattern, and it came out looking a little bit more peacockish. So we're going peacock.
Love the colors.
Thank you. That's so this is all segmented. Hard maple. What's my dimensions? Like 14.5 in diameter, I think, and 9 tall. So segmented, turned the vessel, obviously, did the beads, and then because of the maple, I'll use those India ink pens, and because that green especially was light in color, so when I went over it once, it didn't bleed in terms of it more absorbed the color. So I'll say that. So the maple was still kind of showing through, which then made me realize I had to go back through and color the whole thing a second time. So I think there's 9,800 and something beads, and I ended up coloring them all twice. About 70 hours in that one. But like I've said before, it's 70 hours of sitting in a recliner watching, Netflix documentaries or something while I'm coloring squares. So it's not really like standing at a lathe for that long.
Yeah, rock on.
Thanks.
Very nice.
Yeah, Michael's. I've told you. I mean, I saw this piece on Instagram, and it just this is my favorite of the ones you've done. I mean, I think this is just stunning. There's something about it that just is captured.
I don't know why my screen's blurry, but at least this will give you perspective on how big it is. Yeah, it's not going to show. Anyways, thank you. We won't be going over that in December because I would bore you all with tears and it would take forever to do. But
you can't do that in an hour and a half.
Hour and a half, yeah. Actually, I'll probably I'll do one of those high-speed videos and we'll knock it out in 60 seconds.
That's gorgeous, Michael.
Yeah,
thank you.
Super. Just stunning.
I appreciate it. I love these.
Oh my God.
All right. Jim.
Yeah. Oh, spiral illusions, I call these. Anyway, I had a request for a couple of these. This is 13.5 by 9, and the offset is horizontal on this, a 1/4 inch offset from both sides with a 1 inch circle. So it puts the center of that first rib in the middle of the other circle. This is a cherry.
The outside shape, is that just bandsaw or?
Yeah. The radius is the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket. It works perfect. I use all kinds of things for my big radiuses. It's too hard to try to swing an arc, so.
Right.
But that's on 4 centers. The outside is one, you can see that groove on the outside, that's one center. And then the top rings are set to the right 1/4 inch, and the other ones are set to the left 1/4 inch. So I made a whole bunch of these. Yeah.
Right. That's
Wow. Wow, that's gorgeous.
And that's similar in Bloodwood. That's sold. That's a request for 2 of these things, and they make excellent lamps too. Same kind of thing. This is a smaller one, 12.5 by 7. It has probably one less ring. I didn't look at it, but it turned a beauty yesterday, and I got the offsets both the same way, and I have a handful of these little round circles like this. It came out absolutely perfect. I could have hit myself in the head with something. Anyway,
I think we need to see a demo on these.
yeah.
well, we actually a few years ago you demoed these, not the whole thing. I mean, you demonstrated this technique in
Yeah.
Raleigh one time. I recall.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I remember that.
I made a bunch of these different shapes and different
So
designs.
Jim, where's the 4th axis? I see the 2 1-inch circles in the middle, and then I see this ring.
There's 2 axes on the top and 2 axes on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, understood. All right. You never fail to amaze, Jim.
Well, once I pick up the center of the piece and I start this first, I keep moving my mouse like you can see it. Anyway, once I start the center of the piece, I turn that, I put that groove in there and start the recess to the top of those rings. And then I mark the center and I drill a hole right through the piece, a 1/16 of an inch hole. And that hole goes right, with the small rings, it goes right through the center of that opening. Yeah, right there. And that's how I pick up the center on the other side, no matter where this is. And
Got it.
do the other
Okay.
side.
Got it. Okay.
But you just have to make sure you offset 1/4 inch to the right, and then when you flip it over, you do it to the left. And otherwise, you get 4 little rings.
That you get all the time. How'd you do this? How'd you do this?
Yeah.
It's epic.
That's fun, Jim. That's, and I think when you demonstrated, it was just kind of a round feature, but having that, I mean, the shape on the outside really just enhances the image in the middle. That's really a lot of fun.
Usually in demos, I do 6 by 6 squares, and there's about three rings, I think, just to show it.
Right.
I did one that was vertical, and it had a point on the top, and it kind of tapered down to like you stood with this thing on end or something.
Right.
And the guy that bought it loved it. He said it looked like a fish. And whatever, if you want to buy it, you can make it whatever you want.
you buy naming rights.
Yeah, you got it. So
very nice.
I waste money at you, don't argue.
Yeah.
All right, Bob.
Yeah, I just threw in a bunch of these little boxes that I do. It was more just a study of inlays. I've just done this for years where I make boxes and I just pick up scraps that I have in my scrap box and make different kinds of inlays in them, just to kind of give you an idea of what can be done. So nothing special here. Same thing.
So that multi-axis one in the upper left,
Yeah, that's my favorite.
I assume you did that point, the pyramid, the conical shape on the top on center, right? And then
Yes.
and then did the offsets on the box. Okay.
Did it? Yeah, right, exactly. So
Yeah,
Well,
that's
that's
cool.
fun. Well,
yeah, they're fun. It just kind of just sets off a box, a plain box. Just something else visual to see.
and what are the approximate sizes of those? I mean,
They're typically about 3 or 4 inches high and, 2 to 3 inches in diameter.
okay. That's fun. That's nice.
I'm coming in late, but hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
geez,
Scott
yeah.
Grove.
Hey,
Hey.
Hey, Scott.
we just started.
Oh, good.
No, no.
Hey,
All right. Well, with Scott,
welcome.
so hold on one second here, because we've put all the embellished ones together here. Let me just see where
All
we
the
are.
inlay ones, yeah.
And inlay ones, yeah. Give me
Right.
1 second here. See where we
We're
are.
glad you could make it, Scott. I didn't hear back from you, so I wasn't sure whether you were, I know you were traveling and so forth, so I knew you
Yeah,
had.
I've been on the road for 2 weeks. I was teaching down at Mark Adams, got in late last night, and then had meetings in the city all day. So, but I wanted to see what you guys came up with.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, give me a second here. I'll get back to the beginning.
Yeah, we just go through it quick, and I can. If anybody had any problems or anything, I can certainly, kind of jump in or give a critique or whatever you'd like.
Okay, I think we have 9 pieces, Scott, that have the inlay on them, and there's either 1 or 2 pictures of each one. So
Yeah, I hate to have you review it here again, but
no, we skipped these. We didn't go through these.
Great, I appreciate that because I gotta still have to cook dinner and everything else.
So no, we'll do these real quick, and then you can go get your dinner here if you want.
Yeah, that's nice. And is that done with who is that person here who's done that one?
Yeah, Reed, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
And is that done with epoxy or CA or?
I like to do these little tops. They're just little 2-piece tops where you make the shaft the right size. You drill out a hole out of the bottom here, just glue them together, and then you're holding them as one piece to turn them just right. And I've been making these for a while, but then you made the comment about I can't afford to do the resins. So, but you mentioned the idea of just CA glue.
Yeah.
So we went and we bought glitter.
Yeah.
At Harbor at
Michael's or Joanne's or something like that.
yeah, and we just bought glitter, and the idea of sprinkling where I don't normally put a groove in here, I put a groove in there, filled it full of the glitter, and then filled it full of CA glue, and it made just a beautiful. The glitter just came out beautifully.
Yeah, I think that's as I may have mentioned. I mean, you can inlay anything, and one thing that comes to mind that might be really kind of fun is if you put say, I don't know, red, or I'm sorry, yellow glitter on half of that inlay and blue on the other. I bet when you spin it, you would see green.
Good point.
So you have a little fun with mixing the colors or something like that. So I bet that would be really interesting to see if that would work. I think it would. I'm not really sure, but I think you would see the change in color.
That would be a nice idea. I'll
Or
try.
checkerboard it or something, and yeah, that'd be really fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's nicely done, Reed. Yeah, if you try that, Reed, I'd love to see that. See the effect of that.
Yeah.
That multicolor one. So good. All right. And this is your other one, Reed. I think you had 2 bowls here with.
And just the simplicity of a small little bowl, but again, just making the part up here just a little thicker. And that's white. This is actually an aqua color. But what's actually interesting, and I didn't realize this about CA glue, I always use it to fill a crack and then come back and clean it up. But when you're using this much CA glue, it'll dull your blade in a heartbeat. And so
Are you using activator?
do what?
Are you using activator?
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't.
And what brand of CA glue are you using?
Whatever's over at the place here in Cary.
Okay,
Star bonders.
right. You may want to try a carbide tip, or certainly if you want to go further, the negative rake carbide tip. Easywood Tool makes that, and that's really great. I mean, it works really, really well for resins.
Is that or the thing gets dull, you go back, you sharpen it, and then it comes back.
No,
And then
no sharpening. It's insert tooling. So you buy a piece of it comes with a carbide cutter,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
and then you can even turn it. So because it'll dull, you turn it, or if it's a square, you got 4 shots, or if it's a circle, you can get it 5 turns or 6 turns. Turn it 30 degrees each time.
You're right.
And get the negative rake. That will really make your resin turning a lot easier.
Yeah. And then also the sometimes that glitter will create a little pocket and take
And
the
it pops out,
sandpaper
yeah.
against a flat piece
Yeah.
and sand it all just smooth. But very nice idea. I enjoyed that.
Good. Yeah, it's not uncommon to have a little pocket or a little air bubble and go back. You just fill a little thin CA glue after the fact, and it'll clean up.
Scott, I will. This is Steve. Your suggestion to use the Glue Boss CA.
Yeah.
I cannot believe the difference in the results using that with no foaming. No, I mean it is. I'm just amazed. It's expensive, but boy, I'll tell you what, I'm sold. That one suggestion was worth it. I mean, it really made a huge difference.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. I was just actually the last 2 days I was filming at Woodcraft Corporate down in West Virginia, and they had a Mercury brand which I never used. I think that was something, and they had their accelerator. I didn't use a lot of it just because I kind of had one-time shot under the camera, but they said it didn't foam, so I'm just throwing that out there also. And their accelerator came in a big aerosol can too. I mean, they had like a spray can, it was like the largest can I've ever seen of accelerator. Usually they're, little pint size kind of things. So I'm going to be looking into that a little more.
Good. All right. This is Ted's.
Yeah,
Steve,
so I
before
think
we go on, what was the name of that glue?
It's a Mercury brand. That was the one that I just tried, but the CA that Stephen was using was called Glue Boost. It is twice as expensive as any other CA out there, but it's for luthiers, for guys who make guitars. It's supposedly, triple distilled, no impurities, and their accelerator will not go bloom or blush the CA, which is when your CA turns white or bubbles. And also when you use accelerator, it also makes the CA more brittle. That's just generally speaking, any CA will make it. So it's really good to use it very sparingly, if at all.
He said what?
Boost, B-O-O-S-T.
All right, Ted.
Well, yeah, I think Scott, you answered the question to my problem, because really this piece and the next one are two. So this one, you can see the inlay is with gold powder.
Yeah.
And I use CA glue, and I could not get it. I cut this back out a half a dozen times and tried it again, and I could not get it to essentially be solid, right? It's full of holes, and they're like bubbling from the CA, I guess.
So, and another thing you can do is after you cut the groove, take the CA and spray it in the groove first and let it dry. That will neutralize any tannic acid that's in the wood, because CA glue is an alkali kick, meaning it kicks on a base, so any acid will slow it down. and then you fill it up with your inlay and CA. And the other thing is, if it's powder, sometimes the thin CA still has a hard time sort of soaking down through the really fine powder.
Yeah,
So you can mix it up on a little board and make a little paste out of it. And that will
okay,
sort of, thoroughly mix it. And then you can just take a little putty knife or something and
sure.
trowel that in. And that'll make a big difference. Now, depending how deep your hole is, or your groove, it might take a few hours or sometimes overnight. If you got an 1/8-inch deep groove and all this fine powder and a lot of CA, you just kind of have to walk away.
Okay, that's probably all problems that I probably experienced with it. Is it now when mixing the paste, is that better with like a medium weight versus thin?
It's either or. You can, depending
Okay.
how fine the powder is. So,
Okay.
I usually do thin. It doesn't really matter. The powder will make it actually thicker.
Yep. So this one was the same problem. This was copper.
Yeah.
And the same thing. I finally just said kind of gave up, I guess, getting it completely solid because it just kept bubbling out on me. So, so I think you gave me some good stuff. And this one was with shell. Actually, I got from a lake shore and hand crushed it. And mistake I made on this was I hadn't really turned the piece completely when I put that in there, and it just tore my tools up.
Yeah, again, that had to do with the Mohs hardness. So the shell is probably a Mohs hardness of 3.5, maybe 4, and your wood is 2.5. So that's where using a carbide will make a huge difference. But yes, it's always best to finish the piece and then just do your inlay after the fact, and then you're only turning just the inlay. And in that case, sometimes I won't even turn it. I'll just sand it. It's actually just easier just to sand the overflow. And then lastly is if you recall the two types of inlay, or there's more than two, but if you have a hard material, just make sure that's below the surface. Stuff it down in there and then just cap it off with the resin. And then all you're turning is the resin and not any shell.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Good ideas. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, Preston.
Yeah. This one, I didn't really describe how I did it there, but I made sort of first I got the piece round on the outside and made sort of a tenon there, and then made a form out of duct tape, and I had wood on the inside higher than the resin.
Like a dam,
Yeah.
an internal dam, yeah.
And I made a form there and poured it in, and had good luck with it. I didn't put it in a pressure pot or anything like that, so I was pretty surprised that I'm sure there's bubbles in there, but it's an opaque powdered dye that I used.
Sure. And what did you use, resin there or CA?
It's resin,
Epoxy?
Yeah,
Which brand?
I don't remember right now.
Okay, and it was a thin epoxy, obviously.
Right. I think it was
Sure.
I think it was deep pour. I don't know the brand though.
Oh, so deep pour is that's a new term. I mean, Alumilite makes deep pour, but it might take a long time for that to cure because that's probably only a 1/2 inch tall or something. So you could probably use what's called a hotter kick. So if you use like a bar coating, it's thinner and will kick faster. Because sometimes the veneer or the epoxy will set up, but then you can never really get a good polish on it. And you'll have to actually wait up, a week or up to 30 days for it to become fully cured. So it'll take a nice shine to it.
I'm pretty sure that's what I did. I let it sit for quite a while.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, it's pretty. I might suggest going with, like, you have that green there. I might suggest trying again and putting a green color, something that's more of a contrast to
Uh-huh.
the wood, really
Yes.
make it pop. Because you kind of look at that and you're saying, oh, what kind of wood is that? It almost looks like
Right.
it has a wooden rim on it.
Yeah. And on this piece, I had a tenon there to work on the other side. So instead of turning it away, I just
Yeah.
made up some more of that mixture and poured it in there.
Yeah. Does that look like mica? Or was it a dye pigment you said?
I think it's just a dye.
Okay. Because it looks bubbly. It looks like it has a little texture to it.
Yeah. I think in the like the 10 o'clock area, it looks like a bubble was there or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Very nice.
Anyway, thank you.
I was going to say that if that was a dam that you built and it was open-ended on top,
Yes.
good chance that the bubbles all went to the top and you turned them away.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Preston, is it your other one?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a smaller piece, and it had sort of a void in it. And again, I used duct tape there after I turned it. I don't think I mixed the colors up very well because I can still see some of the powders in there now.
Sure. Those could be a little dry.
Yeah.
And if you added a little alcohol or acetone, just a few drops to your epoxy, that will help disperse, lower the viscosity and help disperse any pigment powders that you're using to blend in a little more.
I have heard of people doing that, and I wasn't sure the proportions to use to thin the epoxy down where it would go into the cracks better.
Sure. You can always call technical service. Some epoxies you can go up to 100%, but that's getting drastic. All epoxies, if you're mixing an ounce or of epoxy, you can put a couple drops in there, and it makes a big difference. And all epoxies you can thin a little bit with acetone or alcohol.
Okay. Anyway, that's a great tip. Thank you.
Sure.
On this one, I drill through the bottom to as close to the top as I can get it. Glue a rare earth magnet in there.
Oh, how fun.
And I use it for my fly tying so the box of hooks doesn't get knocked by my elbow and I find them
Sure.
or something like that.
Great idea.
Yep.
You should try inlaying one of your flies.
Oh, yeah.
In clear.
Uh-huh.
All right. Michael.
So that's stabilized maple burl. It was really punky, so I stabilized it. And then there was a nice void in the top of it. So I actually used Scott's, the abalone shell.
That's pretty.
The large. I used the large and then decided they were too big once I put them in there before I backfilled with resin. So I took them out and beat them with a hammer. And then put them back in and then backfilled with some aluminite resin. No pressure pot because it was too big at the time for the pressure pot I had. So it was the deep pour. I'm going to let it set. Like you were saying, it took, I don't know, it probably took 14 days for it to be cured enough to turn. And then carbide on the outside. Yep.
That's why I would try just any bar coating. I mean, Aluminite makes a bar coating top. System 3, any of the hobby stores carry just a bar or top coating. It's just a much hotter kick. You can't fill it, more than say 3/8 of an inch thickness because it'll just be too much exotherm. But that's real pretty. And was it exposed? So when you turned it, were you hitting shell or just resin?
Yeah, I hit shell in a couple spots, but I tried to keep it below the surface. But it did connect in a couple areas, but not too bad. Using carbide on the outside for that same reason.
Smells like you're at the dentist.
Yep, pretty much. And then, oh, you're right. That stuff did stink. I forgot. It really did stink. But to me, I don't know. It looks kind of digital. It almost looks like it's all natural, but then it looks like there's some kind of circuitry underneath. That's what it reminded me of anyway.
Sure. I think it's beautiful. Really nice job.
Gorgeous
that's a-
wood, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's
Excellent
a,
piece.
Thanks.
a stunning piece, Michael. Good job.
Thank you.
How, if you know, how'd you stabilize the resin or the
So
burl with it
that
with
was too
cactus
big.
juice?
Yeah, it was too big for the vacuum chamber I have. So what I did was turned it roughly to shape. So I wasn't wasting juice, and I submerged it in, if you guys have ever used like the ball jar for when you're doing pickles on the oven type thing, that big pot. I submerged it inside a pot that size with a weight on top for about 48 hours because I figured I don't need that stabilizing juice to get all the way in the center if I'm going to turn it out as a hollow form anyways. As long as it penetrated the first 3/4 of an inch throughout that rough form, I'm good to go. And then I obviously cured it in my little, I call it the easy bake oven, but it's the shop oven.
So another tip on that, if you have a really large form and you don't have enough cactus juice, right? So say you're putting in a pot and you need 3 gallons of cactus juice to fill your entire pot so you can submerge it. What you do is you take your piece, you put it in a nice thick like garbage bag. Put the cactus juice in that, okay, and then that goes in a pot of water. So you're only
good
creating
idea.
a thin shell of cactus juice or coating, if you will, around. Obviously, the inside's going to fill up, but all that large negative space down by the foot, the water will conform to the piece, and this way you don't need to use, don't have to have 2 or 3 gallons. You could probably do the whole thing with a quart of cactus juice if you're running
You
low
know
on
what?
cactus juice.
I had thought about, I should be able to put this in a bag and then cinch the bag, but it never dawned on me to submerge that bag in a pot of water so it conformed.
Yeah,
That's a great idea. Thank you.
sure, but wonderful piece.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Michael, if you need it, I just recently acquired a 16-inch vacuum chamber. So
Oh, did you?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I've been
'cause
making, I'll be making multiple trips to Steve's house.
I was running into the same problem with the 12-inch pot. It just wasn't quite big enough. So
yeah.
Scott, thanks for the pro tip on that water.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's a good one. Hey, real quick, Scott, can I ask a question? And I'm sorry to interrupt. On that glue you talked about,
The glue boost?
Yeah, so, and I won't make this long. I have a really bad allergic reaction to CA fumes. How is that glue with CA fumes?
I think it's all pretty much the same. Although I don't recall really having it. I mean, the fumes are usually when you hit it with when it comes in contact with with high moisture content. So you might try reducing the moisture content if you could on your wood. That may be what's happening, but it's still a cyanoacrylate, so you're probably going to have a problem with that. Now, what I've been told by 2 separate chemists, you might have an allergic reaction, but it's not toxic. But I don't know what that really means. You have allergic reaction. If your face swells up, it's still not pleasant. So
yeah, it's closing down airways and all that kind of stuff. But I appreciate the information. Thanks.
Sure.
Hey, Michael, I have a CA glue that's called Parfix, and it's supposed to be a medical grade stuff. It has almost no odor at all.
Yeah, I actually use Parfix. You can buy Parfix by the pound, in much larger quantities. It is a medical grade, but I still think it's cyanoacrylate. I think they just got sort of the FDA for gluing, cuts and stuff together.
Well, yeah, it's definitely a cyanoacrylate, but when I use it, I don't get any of the smell that I get with most of the normal ones, like Star Bond and stuff.
Sure, that's good to know. Yeah, I'd love if someone tracks that down. I'm making a note here. I know the head chemist there also, so I might. That would be a really good tip. I'm going to look that one down.
You're getting good information, Scott. Send it my way.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Scott, this is our last one. This one's mine. This is from a piece actually from about a year ago, but this is all I had for inlay, so I figured I'd show up. This is done with the Paul Howard router jig on 2 axis. And it's filled with Alumilite clear slow in a pressure pot. You know, I turned the grooves one time, and I cut the grooves before I turned the bowl. I just flattened the surface, cut the grooves in one direction, put the resin in, set it in the pressure pot, and then move the jig over to the other side to get the other radius, and then just turned the bowl to intersect to actually to have the show the intersection of the 2 grooves. So by not turning that beforehand, first of all, it acted like a dam, and second of all, it allowed you to just do it so you could have the edge of the bowl right at the intersection of the 2 grooves. So
Yeah, I love it. I love the weave pattern, and I'm assuming you did 2 different colors there, a little darker and a little lighter, right?
Yeah, it doesn't quite show up in the picture, but yeah.
Yeah, one of the and again, I'm just telling you ideas that are popping into my head here. I like the inside of the bowl where it really seems to, come across, turn, and come back over. If you could lay the router jig out so that connection happens at the top too, so you increase your angle just a little bit. So you're going to get those the tips on the outer rim and the inside rim. Follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying.
Then it'll really look weaved. And then if you really want to take this, then you have to hand carve another, I'm just going to say a groove on the inside and outside. So that it looks like it's string holding that and pulling it together and pulling it out. Follow what I'm saying? And it would be an over inlay also. And I might do that with my silver inlay technique, where you would come and it would just go over the would go over the black line, which is the bottom line, and it would go under the top line. So it looks like the lines that you've done here are coming in and wrapping around this silver inlay and then going back out. That would really even enhance that illusion even more. Or maybe if you just did a different color wood, you put, if that outer piece was segmented or something. I love the weave. I see sort of this tension there, and I want to see something it's grabbing onto. Like what's making that element turn and go back out. It feels like it's like a shoelace, something's pulling it. So if there was some sort of line or change of material, that would also enhance that technique a lot.
Okay.
But I love it. Really nice piece. And what was the inlay? Just Alumilite?
It's Alumilite clear slow.
Sure. And just mica powders?
Yeah, it's the pearl powders. Actually, the darker colors just dye. The lighter color was the Alumilite pearl.
Sure.
So whatever the.
Beautiful. Nice piece.
All right.
Very nice.
And that's Scott. That's the end of our inlay pieces here.
Okay.
Certainly appreciate you finding some time in your busy schedule to join us. Appreciate your input.
Scott.
Sure, I'm glad to help. Keep up the good work and keep me posted on any future opportunities that might come up.
All right,
do that.
Great.
Okay, thanks guys. Take care.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Well,
All
that was well worth. I'm sure glad he joined. That was well worth it.
And so, yeah, Ted. I guess I was secretly cursing you, but it turned out all right.
There was no secret.
All right, where do we end up? I'll have to mute my. Have to turn off my video next time. So, all right, this is where we left off, Bob.
Oh, you ended up with me. Well,
I'm starting with you.
You can see what I've been doing in my spare time, which is drinking.
Emptying bottles. I see that.
And I had a couple of these really heavy, beautiful bottles. And I said, why would I want to throw those in the garbage can? So I really cleaned them up and then made a stand and a stopper. And I think I will do a series of these. I haven't figured out how to make an oval shaped base if anybody has ideas about that, let me know. But this is just kind of a, it's ambrosia maple, but you could use anything, and you can be very creative with the base design. It's just kind of fun to do and a nice way to recycle something.
Yeah, good repurposing. Very nice.
And this is number 2 from crosscut maple that I got from LV Jackson. This thing's about 16.5 long and 11.5 wide, and the walls are about 1/4 of an inch thick, and it has a big circular foot underneath. I had a similar one last month that was a little bigger. This is the second one I've finished. And it's basically sanding sealer and then several coats of gloss lacquer.
So you haven't had any trouble with these things splitting at the pith?
If you look really closely in the center, there's a teeny little hairline crack, but otherwise, no. I've been very, very lucky with it.
Huh. Well, that's amazing to me that's just not coming apart.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the shape of the outside edges, it's wild.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Bob, that piece that you gave me, I couldn't keep the bark on it. And I did it thin like this also, and I was putting finish on the top of it, and I turned it over to look at it, and it was coming through because of the end grain.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you can have that effect.
That's nice. I'll be curious to follow this for a couple of months here as we head into the winter and the drier humidity, see whether that stays together. It just it'd be really cool if it did. Boy, that's
Yeah,
that's a
I've
nice
still
piece.
got two more of these raw crosscuts to do. So we'll see. They're about 3 inches thick, the crosscuts.
Right.
Oh, hey, Bob, how fast were you spinning that when you were turning it?
1200.
Oh, wow. Because I tried making some of these and I had to stay really low, like 600-700, or it would just fly apart.
Well,
Yeah, Bob,
I got lucky, I guess.
Yeah.
did you see any flex in this? When you got down to that 1/4 inch side, did it flex at all on you as you were turning it?
Not really. I try to work from the outside in an inch or
Right.
so at a time, and that keeps as much stability as you can.
Right.
in the piece. But no, it wasn't problematic.
That's a lovely piece. I hope it holds up for you. Maybe the 1/4 inch thick maybe that's part of the secret of it drying without the cracks too. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's very nice.
I think any thinner would be really dicey on a crosscut.
Yeah. No, that's fun. Like I said, it'll be fun. I think in 15 years of turning, I've never done an end grain piece, so that's fun. All right, Mark.
Okay, hi guys. So this is ash, and it's fairly big, 12 by 4, as you can see. Maybe you should show the other picture too, just to go back and forth, Steve, so you can see the shape of the bowl. It's calabash. It has a round bottom. So we're into the basic bowl section of this evening. And I know this is getting back to basics, there's nothing fancy in here, but I think the shape came out really nice. I was really happy with the curve coming all the way from the bottom around to that rim, which is heads downward a little bit, and then it's undercut, so it has, I think, nice balance. But I debated whether I needed some kind of an ornament, some kind of a ring around it at some point, whether it's just one line or 2 lines, or maybe this was a place for just a little bit of texturing and a nice little band. I decided not to, and I've gone back and forth on that, and I don't know what's the thing to do. And this also goes into, turning woods like ash, which aren't loud woods. I mean, they're kind of quiet. Do you need to do something with it, or can it be fine as it is? I wasn't sure if I was happy with the photos I took. I didn't know if it served the character of the wood well, but seeing it this evening, just sitting on the porch, and I think it's lovely. It's nice and quiet, restful.
Well, it's very simple. The wood is everything.
Yeah.
I like the simplicity.
Well, I think it's simple, but simple isn't easy. Oftentimes, simple is harder to do because everything shows. You don't have anything to pull your eye away from the flat spot on the curve, or that the curve's not graceful. So, I tend to keep my designs really simple like that because, for me, I see the challenge in that. But anyway, so I have the two pieces tonight, and there's a real contrast between them because of a lot of it just because the nature of the wood.
Right. So Mark, one of the things, and again, I think this is lovely the way it is, but if you wanted to embellish it, one of the fun things you can do with ash is just take a torch on the rim, and ash just burns so well because it would kind of juxtapose some texture onto that rim versus the real smooth finish on other parts of it. But that, again, that's just an idea. I mean, I think it's fine the way it is, but
I was going to suggest the same thing, is that the rim, I really like the bowl and everything, but the rim it would really pop the whole thing, I think, if that rim, and I think burning it would be, I wouldn't dye it because it's too small.
And you're
just burn it.
And you're just talking about the just that horizontal surface at the top, right?
Yep. Yeah. And what you do is
interesting.
You do that before you do your final turn. So
right.
So you get that sharp, you get the clean lines there. But by burning, if you get one of those small butane torches, and you'll get it'll burn down into the sapwood more than the heartwood, and the growth rings there, and you'll get this great texture on it, and it'll be black with texture, and I think it would make that rim pop right. I mean but again,
I've seen some of the ash that you guys have done with the burning, and it is appealing. It does it well.
And Mark, I'm going to challenge you.
And I have a lot more ash. Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you real quick and disagree. I like the simplicity of this. I think the beauty is in that simplicity. I don't think it's too, basic bull. I like that angle curve on the lip, how you slightly brought that in. I think that gentle slope around the outside, and then the balance of that wood grain on both sides evenly, so you can see those growth rings. I think it's a beautiful piece.
I didn't say I didn't like it, Michael. I just said it.
No, I'd say Mark said, he said it's basic. It's just like a regular bowl. And I wanted to say, no, I think it's actually pretty exquisite. It looks like on the inside there's some compression figure.
A little bit.
I think it's beautiful.
Well, thank you. And when I say it's right. It could leak. About it being simple, I come to these things and I watch everybody's, it's different things in the Christmas ornaments and the inlays and things like that. And I tend to just concentrate on just very simple, clean lines and good craftsmanship on my pieces. But sometimes everybody's just going and shaking their, and going rah, and this is quiet. So
I like
different.
Quiet's good too. Quiet, and plus, you know what you like and you like to do it. So congrats to you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Except, Mark, I've been seeing your stuff on Instagram, and it's not all quiet, but
true.
It's great. No, I love this. and I hope that you will post next month some of those natural edge pieces that you put on Instagram, because I think they're really cool too. So, all right, and this, I just, what an incredible piece of wood.
So right. So this is wood from Mike Smith. I got this wood 5 years ago, and he did me a solid because he gave me some big slabs of walnut. And you know, he would not take much money for it because of all the piths going through there. He just said, "Well, this is all just going to crack apart. You're not going to have anything usable here." But man, 2 pieces I managed to turn out of this are just, you know, with all those piths, also comes all that stress wood, all that reaction wood. So you get all these colors. You know, as long as you know, and I'll admit that wood intimidated me for a while. It sat for a little bit, and then I did the rough turning, and then it sat for a good while because, you know, sometimes you just don't feel like you have the chops for that piece of wood that you have to put on there. And so sometimes you have to wait till you get the technical skills and, you know, the confidence. And so I finished it last month. And yeah, I'm tickled with it. It's a beautiful piece.
It really is. And, you know, walnut properly finished, it just, I mean, the sheen, the texture, I mean, it's just, it will finish so smooth that, but it'll also show any.
So it's like glass.
Yeah. That also means that any tool marks will also show on it, because so the fact that you managed to
with sandpaper, just sanding scratches can be you know, killer to get out. So yeah, when doing things like this, my sanding regimen is long and slow, but it works well. And I figure that, you know, you can spend 4 hours sanding, because then my finishes are just like a wax oil finish. So then the finish takes me 20 minutes. You know, I'm not doing a lot of extra stuff.
Do you sand wet or
dry?
Dry.
Dry.
You must live right. You know, if I turn something like this with a pith anywhere, that thing would bust right in half.
Well, you know, the thing. So the thing for me on the piths was as it was drying, I did look in on it. I had CA'd the glues of the cracks at the time of the rough turning, and anchor sealed over that. And then I would look at it, you know, month to month. And if any of the cracks were moving, I would try to, you know, reapply them. And I really let it dry slowly. And I think that makes a big difference. I think the wood will stretch a certain amount and compress if you give it time.
Yeah, no, that's a spectacular piece. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, down to our last one. This is one of mine. So this is a core. Last month I showed a natural edge burl bowl, and this is the core, the first core from the one I showed last month. Last month wasn't dyed. This one is it's just transient dyes and alcohol. I was trying to get kind of a variegated, you know, darker in the middle coming up, so I dyed it with red first, and then just had some yellow on a rag and wiped the red off towards the rim with the yellow rag. That was the effect I was trying for anyway. But
it worked pretty well.
Yeah, Steve, what proportions are you using on your trans tint and alcohol?
I have no idea. I put it in a jar and add alcohol till it looks right.
Which is brew, huh?
You know, Steve, I wouldn't have known that you would use different colors on here. When I saw that, I just assumed that the wood had absorbed the dyes in a different way that gave it that. You know, I really thought it was natural. To know that you brushed those things in is really something.
So it was
that figure in the center it's phenomenal. It looks like it's just burnt, and I mean burnt in a good way.
Yeah. Now what's interesting is that the figure in this one was better than the one in the parent bowl. And it's one of these things where you look at it, so if I didn't core this, I never, I mean, it just the relationship of the rays on the outside to the center is much better on this one than it was on the bigger one. And it may have something to do with the angle of the sides or something, but boy, it really is a testament to coring. And there's actually one more core from this, a small bowl that was one more in there that I haven't turned yet, but
Have you named this yet?
no, I haven't, but I gave this, it actually gave it away as a wedding gift last
Oh.
weekend to my niece who got married. So, wow,
I was going to name it Dante's Inferno.
Oh,
Oh, that's a good one.
Because you got the different layers and the depth, and it looks like there's a chasm you could dive into. And I know I'm sounding like I'm trying to be too artsy, but it is really, it's really cool.
yeah,
I think you should have burnt the rim though.
Or maybe
I think you
some
should've gave it to
kind
me.
of lava flow or something like that.
oh,
Because
you
then you have
guys.
like the fire inside and it's all burnt on the, it comes
Yeah.
out all burnt.
I was
It
thinking
came out
about,
great.
I was trying to, what I had in mind was one of those fiery sunsets is, when you're out at sea or so. I spent a lot of
yeah.
time on research ships when I was in graduate school, and you would see these incredible sunsets when a storm was coming, and, and it would just be, and it just, again, it was just like fire as the sun went down on the horizon, you'd see this, bright red sky. And that's what I was aiming for. But anyway, so
Very nice.
so that wraps us up for tonight. Anybody have any final thoughts, comments? Have a good time?
Steve, I call this one fire and ice because when I look at the front of it, it looks like those are ice crystals on the red in the thing, and I think it is cooler than hell.
All right, thank you. I wish I could figure out how to do photography and not have that glare sitting right there, but
Send it to me. I'll Photoshop it out.
yeah,
More diffused